Welcome to a special video series we're calling Trailblazers TV. We're featuring a few of Trace3's key partners and asking them to play a fun game with us. I'm Steve Wiley, General Manager, Northeast Region at Trace3. I'm joined by Eric Knipp, VP of Solutions Engineering, Global Specialists. Okay, Eric, I'm going to ask you a few questions. What the questions are will be determined by this wheel. We have a mix of business, technical, and fun questions. You have no idea what they're going to be. So, Eric, you ready to play?
Hey, Steve, great to be here. Thank you so much, and bring it on.
All right, let's give it a spin. All right, AI assistant. So, first question, in your personal life, what's your most recent use of AI?
Ooh, that's a good one. So, okay, I want to start off by saying that no dog was harmed in the telling of this story. But a good friend of mine was driving home, and it was like dusk, and he thought he hit his neighbor's dog, and it freaked him out, and he was really, really upset about it. And then he found out that he hadn't, and so I thought, wow, what a great thing for ChatGPT to write a country music song about. And so ChatGPT, it was a scary good song about a lonely, dusty road on a high at dusk with a pickup truck, and it played quite well. So that was my most recent goofy one. I also do that to take pictures of my best friend in different like golf poses or on a bicycle or things like that, just to mess with him. So that's like the unprofessional use of AI, but it's scary, fun, and scary accurate how good these models are becoming.
It's no surprise to me you'd use it that way. Do you want to sing that song for us?
No, I don't. It would not be good for any of us.
I hear you. All right, well, let's go to the next question. All right, call me. So, what's the number one reason a client calls your company?
Oh, the number one reason a client calls our company. Well, I hope it's because they want to securely connect and protect things. Again, if you think about what Cisco's mission has been for now 40 years, and we just celebrated our 40th anniversary, it has been about bringing the world together. And that started with, connecting branches to data centers. Well, it actually started with connecting two disparate computer systems on the same campus, to connecting branches to data centers, to connecting users to the cloud. Now it's about securely connecting and protecting everything so that anything is possible. And just to put numbers to that, we're now connecting we're pulling telemetry from over 8 billion individual devices across 50 million unique endpoints. Again, routers, switches, wireless. And again, that continues to evolve. Again, obviously, we've always been the networking company, but I hope what companies or people are going to start to think of Cisco as is the secure networking company, the company that is going to enable organizations to securely connect AI clusters, to securely connect IoT devices to their controllers, and ultimately help empower a digital future. I think we're at a really, really interesting inflection point in the industry right now, where we've always connected things, but I think we're now to the point where we're connecting people, and we're connecting people into this new AI revolution that is really, really exciting.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, there's some good use cases that you've seen as far as that, like with like connecting people, for instance.
Well, let's think about just let's just think about the new workspace as a great example. So again, if you think about like when we all, again, think back to those dark ages that we call 2019, pre-pandemic, right? When you came into the office, you were presented with a cube farm, right? Organizations now, if you think about then why people want to come into the office now. We don't need to come into the office for task work, right? We don't need cubicles anymore. We perfected cubicle technology hundreds of years ago. They're called houses, right? So why do people come to the office now? They come to collaborate with one another, to connect with the organization, to feel a part, which means that the office needs to be fundamentally reimagined. And just to think about this, like when we went home during the pandemic, we all started living on WebEx or Zoom or whatever way that we would collaborate virtually. We had dedicated bandwidth that we were able to leverage. Most of us have 100 meg service, several of us have gig service now, which is awesome. So we got used to having an abundance of bandwidth and the ability to do things like what we're doing right now, HD streaming, HD audio, HD collaboration. The office that they left wasn't ready for that, right? So
Mhm.
again, we were on legacy, a lot of companies were on legacy Wi-Fi, legacy networking. So now we come back into the office just to enable that user experience that customers need. We need to start looking at next generation connectivity technologies like Wi-Fi 7, like enhanced power over Ethernet to provide that. And then if we think about the office experience, right, it isn't about those cube farms anymore. It's about flexible space. How do I personalize that workspace to my needs? Like I'm here in our San Jose headquarters office. When I walk into a conference room, it's now my conference room, right? I'm able to virtually extend my presence into those endpoints. I'm able to, again, receive all of not only my calls, but my preferences are here. So I think that connecting people is bridging that gap between the virtual and the physical world. It's allowing us to reimagine the office space. It's allowing us to provide a much better user experience, and we're able to do it at a lower cost. And again, we could spend an entire hour talking about the sustainability aspects of that. Just thinking about the difference between when we power an incandescent 100-watt light bulb for a conference room versus leveraging power over Ethernet and LED technologies to reduce that dramatically down to much lower, but making that office space smarter too. Why would I have APs powered up when no one's in the office? Why would I let lights be on when I'm not detecting users? Putting collaboration endpoints into a deep sleep mode. Ultimately, it's again, better experience, lower cost, and we're able to do it a lot more sustainably. That's how we're connecting users in this new workspace.
It makes a lot of sense. I mean, you're seeing more and more companies. Like it's a big question coming up right now, right? Or a big comment that like companies are saying,
Mhm.
okay, people are moving back to the office, right? And people have gotten
Mhm.
so used to like this is the way that I'm used to working at my house, and they like
Mhm.
that experience, right?
They
And
love
so
it.
you make a great point where it's like I'm used to working this way, and I want to
Mhm.
be able to work that way at the office. And so if companies are able to make that experience work the same in both places, it
Oh,
makes that
absolutely.
it makes that employee experience. It takes away some of that like angst, we'll call it, of someone having to move back into working in an office 5 days a week. And so it's a really
Yeah.
great point where you're saying Cisco's experience can help, or you can help make that connection, or the difference between working at home, working at the office, more seamless,
Yeah.
right?
Well, the experience should follow the user,
Yeah,
right? So again, you should have a uniform user experience, and that's everything from how we collaborate to how we interact with the network to how we secure. It should follow the user wherever that they're at, and
sure.
the network needs to be intelligent enough to be able to recognize when our users in a given location and apply the right policy, the right preferences, what have you. But again, this is an area where I think we've got some really, really interesting and really exciting technologies, but ultimately it comes back to, again, how are we connecting people with each other? And that's ultimately the goal that we want to drive towards.
Would you say so? Cisco's strength in that area is very much because of the breadth of the portfolio, I would imagine, right?
Mhm.
Because you touch so much of companies' environments, right?
I think it's the breadth of the portfolio. I think it's the innovation that we continue to drive, but it's also, and this is our unfair advantage, right? Very few companies, to your point, have a best-in-class collaboration portfolio. Again, thinking about the endpoints, but also have the networking and security assets. And when those
Mhm.
work in concert with one another, we really break down those artificial barriers to driving innovation. Again, just one example, that back to like a smart workspace. When I walk into a conference room with an intelligent WebEx endpoint, it detects the number of users that are in the room. And we actually, at one of our offices in New York City, Penn One, it actually automatically lowers the temperature of the
Hmm.
room because it knows that there's more carbon-based life forms that are putting out 98-degree air into the room as we're talking. It's like it seems so simple, but again, unless you can be unless you can have that visibility that comes from that full spectrum of the device, the network, the APs, all of those things working in concert really give us an opportunity to reimagine the workspace. And I think that's what the future of work is going to be.
That's really cool. All right, let's
Oh,
move on to the
thank
next
you.
question. All right, next level. So the Trace3 2025 company rally cry is next level. What's your company doing to take customers to the next level?
That's a great question. And again, I see the innovation at Trace3, and I think we have such an incredible partnership, and you help bring our technologies to life. So we just talked about the future of work. So let's talk about AI infrastructure. I think that is where we are helping our customers take it to the next level. And let's just put some stats on it. We commissioned a CEO level study that said, last year, and we interviewed, I want to say, several hundred CEOs around their own AI plans. And the stats are staggering. 85% of the companies that we surveyed are going to start a generative AI infrastructure project just in the next 18 months. In fact, I think over like close to 60% of them are going to do it in the next 12 months. They're dedicating 10 to 30% of their IT budgets. This is adult money, exclusively for AI projects. Yet, only about 12% of those companies are ready to run that infrastructure and run those projects. So what are we doing to help our customers get to the next level? Because AI is here, right? If you are not talking about AI as a partner, if you're not talking about it as an OEM like Cisco, if you're not upskilling yourself as a practitioner of IT, you're going to be left behind. And as G2 Patel, our chief product officer, says, he's basically said there's going to be two types of companies. Those that embrace AI and drive productivity and efficiency, and those that are forgotten. So, I mean, just let that resonate, right? So this is going to be the next generation of how we're doing business. So what are we doing? Well, if you watch the headlines, we just announced we announced a strategic partnership with NVIDIA about a year ago. A few weeks ago, we announced our intent to expand that partnership to do joint development on IP within our own silicon. We're going to build a next generation of switches based on NVIDIA silicon, and we are now part of the enterprise reference architecture for NVIDIA. So customers that want to drive infrastructure projects within their own data centers, and again, we see AI as being a massive driver in repatriation of data center workloads from the cloud, because due to security concerns, organizational sensitivity, proprietary or sensitive data, you don't want that being used to train a public model. So organizations, specifically enterprises, are probably going to leverage the cloud for foundational model training. We don't need multiple foundational models, but when it comes to actually driving a next generation of applications that leverage agentic or generative AI technology, they're going to want that running in their infrastructure. And this is where this idea of inference or light training is going to come in, where we're going to bring that data in. We're going to essentially take a foundational model, lightly train it, put our own data into it, and use that for a chatbot, for a virtual assistant, to augment human intellectual capacity for coding and things such as that, to run virtual contact center agents. And again, the use cases just continue to explode. What we're doing is taking that NVIDIA partnership. We're building next generation AI pods so that we can quickly and easily instantiate these workloads in our customers' environments. And again, we're going to have AI pods. We also have the innovations that we have around Hyperfabric, which is essentially a drop-in, ready-built enterprise cloud-delivered network fabric for the data center that we're enhancing with NVIDIA GPUs and our UCS servers. And then ultimately, we're also going to be embedding AI capabilities into all of our solutions. Agentic AI interfaces to help our customers manage their security and network estates much more effectively. We've introduced agentic AI interfaces into our customer contact or call center or communications. Customer contact solutions. Ultimately around that goal of driving greater efficiency, greater simplicity, and to be able to monetize these AI projects a lot quicker. Because ultimately, AI is not an end, it's a means. And it's a means to either drive greater efficiency in your workforce or to unlock new revenue opportunities, or ideally to do both. So if I think about things that are going to be foundational to the next decade of Cisco's success, and I think the industry, is going to be the leadership that we're driving in AI right now, and strategic partnerships like what we're driving with NVIDIA.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot there, right? And so we could talk about AI for.
We talk about this a lot.
We could talk about it a lot for sure. And and as you know, I mean, Trace3 has been doing a lot of work with Cisco as far as AI, specific
Absolutely.
to the AI pods. You put out a couple statistics up front in what you were saying, and I'm sure you would agree, like in our conversations at Trace3, I mean, obviously we're talking to customers a lot about use cases. And,
Mhm.
one of the things that I commonly hear from customers is, okay, AI, like everybody's talking about AI, and people are like, well, what do we even need to do to start, right? So go beyond use cases. You had a
Yeah.
statistic up front about people being ready, right?
Yeah.
One of the common things or one of the things that I say to customers all the time is the biggest thing they need to do is look at their technical debt and be prepared, right? So like
Yeah.
if you don't have infrastructure that is ready to take on AI, you're already behind, right? And so I
Yeah.
think that's what you look at some of the statistics you set up front, like that's one of the things that you're saying, right? Where it's like, of course, look at use cases, but if you're not making sure your data centers are up to date, making sure your networks, I mean, just at a basic level, I mean, you've got to make sure that you're prepared to get where you're going.
Mhm.
Not to mention, invest in the, the things like figuring out what the right use cases are, right? I mean, would you agree with that?
Well, absolutely. And this is where I think Trace3, I think, does sets itself apart. I mean, you've always had an incredibly strong infrastructure practice, but now your digital consulting group, where you're not looking at just driving an infrastructure conversation. Because let's be honest with ourselves, and as hard as this is for me to say, customers don't want to build a network. They don't want to build data centers. They have to build networks. They have to build data centers because they've got applications that they need to run their business. And if I think about the way that Trace3 specifically through your digital consulting practice is looking at these opportunities, you're not talking about here's a server, here's a net, here's a Nexus switch, here's a SAN. You're driving that outcome conversation. You're aligning it with where customers are trying to take the business. Because as I mentioned earlier, and I think you just reiterated very well, this is a why conversation, not a what conversation. Now, the beautiful thing about that is that that why drives a hell of a lot of what. And I often tell my own team, if you want to sell AI infrastructure, don't talk about AI infrastructure. Talk about the outcome a customer is trying to drive. And again, it's pretty simple conversation to have, right? You want to have a generative AI conversation with one of your customers. There's really three questions, and I wish I could say that I came up with these on my own. Actually, I learned these from NVIDIA. If you want to just have a conversation starter with your customer, ask them one of these three questions. What are you trying to do with chatbots right now? Have you identified things like help desk augmentation, service desk type of things? What are you trying to do with virtual assistants? Are you trying to change the way that your customers are interacting with you? And again, think about hospitality, think about airlines, think about just general governmental services too. And then, are you trying to augment an existing role or task within your organization with AI? Again, code generation is a great example of that, where again, you can be declarative in what you want the code to create and let the machine script out the Python for you. I guarantee you, every one of our customers are asking themselves those questions right now, and they're not sure how to build it. They're not sure what that infrastructure looks like. And then you come in with that infrastructure and architecture leadership, and you're really going to be relevant to your customer. So again, I'll get off my soapbox, but this is stuff that really excites me.
Oh yeah, and those are the exact use cases that we're seeing, right? I mean, those are the ones that we're seeing when customers are actually moving the ball forward and they're actually getting business value. Those are the ones that they're focusing on. And you're 100% correct. Where it really does come down to the what is going to achieve value for you, right? So that makes a lot of sense. So let's move on to the next question.
Uh,
All right. So why Trace3? So what do you think Trace3 offers that truly differentiates us in the industry?
I think we already hit on it a little bit. Again, I think the way that you've structured your practice again around the digital outcomes, I think is really really exciting. But again, one of the things that really stands out to me is you're not you're an incredibly strategic partner for Cisco, and again, the numbers speak for themselves. But one of the things that really stands out to me is how you embrace the startup community. And again, I think it's like 25% of your revenue is coming from tech startups, right? So you're doing a great job of not only maintaining relationships and growing them with large incumbents like Cisco and I'm sure others, but you're also looking at that next horizon of where that innovation is coming from. Very similar to the way that we use our investments group. So I think you're getting early view into some really interesting startup technologies that you're then bringing into these broader digital practices that we talked about earlier. I think that's something that really stands out. Is if I think about Trace3.
Yeah. So what you're talking about there is our innovation organization, right? So the
Yeah,
relationships
exactly.
that we have, with the VC firms and the view that gives us into where billions of dollars are being invested. Obviously,
Yeah.
I mean, billions of dollars being invested in startups, it really gives a lens into where technology is going over the next 3 to 5 years. And to your point, I mean, what we do with that is we try to give clients an idea of where technology is going, right? And we offer that as a value add to our customers and our prospective customers. It's not so much that we're driving revenue from that, right? Like from the startups themselves, it's more using that to help show clients where things are going, right? So that they
Yeah.
can plan. And Trace3 taking the consultative approach that we take, we find that clients can use that to like take things like AI, like we were talking about, right? I mean, if you go on an AI journey, I'm sure you would agree that it's not like you just say, "Hey, I'm going to go do AI." Right? Like
Yeah.
it takes some preparation. And Cisco obviously is a leader in the space, but even Cisco, you're working with a number of different companies, right? As far as
Oh yeah.
AI. And so like an organization like Trace3 with our innovation team, it's like we're out there being like, okay, what other companies are investing in that space? And so it's a great call out. So Cisco Investments, is a part of that. We work with Cisco
Oh, absolutely.
Investments on that. And so go ahead, what you were going to comment there.
No, you actually, great minds think alike. So we announced $1 billion AI investment fund specifically so that we could continue to curate our own portfolio of investments. We actually just participated in Anthropic's most recent funding round as well. So we're very, very invested. But again, it's exciting to see some of these companies as they're coming up with really, really innovative ways to, again, not only in AI, but in security, in collaboration, in workforce management. This portfolio that our investments group manages is really, really exciting. And again, it gives us an opportunity to see that next generation of innovation, and then to identify those companies that are going to ultimately, I think, disrupt, and to again influence and hopefully participate in that same disruption.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Think about all those different areas you just mentioned, and you talked earlier about how we've created this digital organization, which it's like more and more everything's coming together. Where it's like almost every conversation you have, like how long have we said, "Hey, security's part of everything"? Well, now
Right.
it's like security's part of everything. Okay, AI's part. We're going to get to a place where AI's part of everything. Right, we're almost there. Infrastructure or networking's part of everything, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's almost like everything's part of everything. Collaboration's part of everything, right? And so it's like you almost have to be at a place where the technology has to go across all these different areas where you have to find these innovative companies, and that's where Cisco making those kinds of investments. I know that's been a priority for Cisco. I mean, how long has Cisco been doing that with Cisco Investments? I mean, I know it's been a
Um,
long time.
Decades. Yeah, I don't know the exact time, but decades. I mean, our portfolio of companies that we're invested in is in the hundreds at this point.
Yeah,
And some of them have turned into acquisitions. So it's an opportunity for us to see that innovation and ultimately partner with some of these amazing founders. But
yeah,
one thing that stands out to me, you just rattled off, and I think it just comes back to that conversation around Trace3's differentiation, is all of those things that you just rattled off are what's right in their house. But again, again, looking at the digital consulting, you get to have a conversation about the why, and that then informs how you package a solution that ultimately is going to be delivered to one of your customers. Because again, and we've been saying this for years, but I think AI is ultimately going to be the thing that drives the behavioral change in this industry. This is no longer a feature conversation. This is no longer a speeds and feeds. As much as it pains me to say this isn't an ASIC conversation. This is a conversation around what a customer is trying to do with their business, and ultimately creating, as we mentioned earlier, driving those new revenue streams, or driving efficiency or protecting the organization more effectively.
all right, let's move on to the next question. Disruptors. So Trace3's always been an early mover and a disruptor in the industry. How's your company helping us do that?
Well, that's a great question. And again, I can't speak highly enough about the incredible partnership that we have between the two organizations. And it's been so much fun to watch because I think you've been there, what, 8 years now or 10 years? It's been a while. But just watching the Trace3 that you joined versus the one that you're a member now of, and just the incredible growth that you've seen. And again, the investments both organically and through acquisition. But to answer the question specifically, as a strategic partner, we're going to continue to invest in you to make sure that you're building out the practices, so we've got the executive alignment, giving you the access to technologies like cloud and AI, collaboration, networking, investing in you both in helping you build your practices, engaging in the field, those joint marketing events, and then ultimately, I mean, we gotta get the engineers access to this equipment, to these solutions. So investing in your lab resources as well. And again, this is where I think it's, when you have the scale that Trace3 does, we can look at the organization holistically and invest in all of those architectures and get the alignment between our sales leaders and in each of our regions. So I think the future candidly is very bright for Trace3 and I think for this partnership.
Yeah, and I appreciate that very much. And I would certainly, you look at, and I've been here 6 years actually. Sometimes it's so it feels like 10, right? But no, but I would,
that time,
yeah, that's right. So I mean, and you look at like the partnership has, certainly grown during that period, right? And there's been significant investment. And like, you mentioned the AI pods earlier. I mean, Trace3, the work that we're doing together on the AI pods is a great example of that, right? And so like, so certainly appreciate that investment, and that's definitely a great area of focus of ours.
Oh, it's well learned. So, and again, we'll continue to invest because you continue to grow and innovate.
Well, we appreciate that. We'll go to the next question. All right, so foodie. So if I come to visit you in your hometown, what's the restaurant you're taking me to?
So I'm going to answer this two ways because you and I both have the same hometown. Right?
That's right. That's why I want to hear the answer to this.
Right. So where would I take you if you were visiting Cleveland for the first time versus where I would take you where I live now? So where I would take you if you were visiting for the first time in Cleveland is I would take you to Swenson's Drive-In and I would get you a Galley Boy, which is one of the most delicious cheeseburgers ever. And it's like that old school walk up, car side drive-in. And again, I think we both agree Galley Boys are pretty good.
Absolutely.
All right. Where I would take you where I live now in Raleigh, North Carolina, is I would take you to mine and my wife's favorite Italian restaurant called Vivace, which has, I think, the best pappardelle, which is a bolognese over rigatoni that I've ever had. And it's quite delicious.
So it'd be interesting if, like, so you and I both being on this call, being from Cleveland, we both obviously.
Would you take me if I were coming to Cleveland? Yeah.
Well, so I'm saying, but we would both agree that the Galley Boy is the greatest cheeseburger. It would be interesting if you had somebody else on here and we could have a debate about Swenson's versus In-N-Out Burger, right? But you and I obviously would agree.
Hold on. We don't have In-N-Out Burger in Cleveland.
So
if we did, I would change my answer. Okay?
Oh, is that right? So you would say In-N-Out over Swenson's?
Yes.
Okay, fair enough. In-N-Out Burger is very good, but I do enjoy Swenson's.
Oh yeah, they're both very good. But again, when you can't get In-N-Out, Swenson's get you there.
Yeah. So you asked me the question, so I'll answer the question. So you're asking me in Cleveland, or are you asking me in Columbus?
Ooh, Columbus.
So if you're asking me in Columbus, oh, shoot. I'm not even prepared for my answer for this. So I believe the best steakhouse in Columbus is Hyde Park in Upper Arlington, which I know Hyde Park's somewhat of a chain, right? But they make the best steak in Columbus, Ohio. And I say this on authority because I'm a part of a steak club that we go to a different steak restaurant every quarter, and every single time it comes back with the greatest ratings. And so that's where I would take you. In Columbus.
Okay, I want to join a steak club. That sounds awesome.
You have an open invite. We're actually going to Mastro's on Thursday of this week if you want to come to Columbus.
Oh, I wish I could.
Hey, so I do have to ask about we have to go back to Swenson's. So what's your side item you get with your Galley Boy?
Oh, French fries.
No potato teasers?
French fries are onion.
No potato teasers?
No. I'm old school.
All right. I do like Swenson's, though. All right, Eric. Well, I think we've been through all the questions. Hey, I really appreciate you joining us. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. We've known each other, obviously, for a really long time. I had a pleasure working with you. Actually, before we worked at Cisco together, I had a pleasure working with you at Cisco, and now a great pleasure to be a partner of yours, here at Trace3. So thank you very much for joining us. It's been a great conversation.
No, Steve, the pleasure's been all mine. And just on behalf of all of Cisco, I just want to thank you, thank all of Trace3 for the incredible partnership. As I mentioned earlier, watching the growth that you've driven over the last several years has been nothing short of awesome. And I just look forward to seeing what the next several years looks like, because I think this partnership is only getting better. We're only seeing continued success, and I can only imagine what the next 6 years hold. So just thank you so much. And it was awesome to join you today.
All right, thanks.